Welcome to the channel. This is part 3 in a series in which I go over DVDs in my collection that for whatever reason I can't get rid of, whether it be sentimental or it's just a really cool edition that's too sweet to get rid of. I picked out 8 from my collection, so let's get into the video. First up is Christopher Nolan's Memento. Sony put out this really cool limited edition back in the day. This is actually my second copy because my original copy had been lost when I moved about 10 years ago. It has one of the coolest packaging of any movie, with the case looking like a patient's file and the film's stretched title logo embossed on the front cover. Once you take off the slipcover, it reveals more information about Shelby Leonard's condition. Then once you fold it open, there's more info, and the sticky note is actually still holding strong, which I'm surprised by. Every time you open this up, there's something new you may not have noticed before. Like when you take the discs out, you see what the bonus features are, which I didn't notice before, because I thought it was more standard forms for doctors to fill out, but featurettes are subtly listed there. They also included more forms, and it just really complements the movie so well. Plus, you know me, I love my gimmicks, and no one, even today, is doing something cool like this. This isn't a rare DVD by any means, and it's still pretty readily available on eBay, so definitely pick it up if you don't own it. Next up is Quentin Tarantino's Reservoir Dogs. I was gifted this by a friend who passed away last year. He picked it up at Goodwill and just randomly surprised me with it one day. I had already owned this movie, but luckily I kept it, and now it holds even more significance. I'm glad it was the Mr. Pink cover because it really stands out on a shelf, plus I do love Steve Buscemi in the movie. It comes with a little booklet featuring stills of the character from the movie, along with a few quotes from Mr. Pink. Then underneath is your 10-year special edition DVD, which was probably what I originally bought back in the day when I first got into collecting movies. But then I bought it on Blu-ray, and then I bought it again when Mondo put out their steelbook for it. I also like the cross-promotion inside. They made some pretty cool merch back in the day, and I wouldn't be opposed to buying one of those figures if I ever came across one. Maybe McFarlane or NECA will get the rights to put out a new line of figures one day. I think they would sell pretty well, but thanks to Dave for buying me this. I'll keep this as a token of our friendship, and I miss you, buddy. Next is one of my favorite comedies, Macgruber. I missed seeing this in theaters because it bombed pretty bad and was gone pretty quickly after it was released. I bought this DVD on its release day from Walmart. I remember going to Walmart on a Tuesday back then, and the movies would be slightly cheaper on their release date. Don't know when they stopped doing that, and now movies are just hella expensive on release day at Walmart. Anyway, Macgruber is one of the movies I quote all the time. I don't think I've ever actually watched the theatrical cut of the movie. This movie has been released on Blu-ray a couple of times, but it's always the same artwork and the same special features. I'll upgrade this one day once this gets a proper collector's edition this classic deserves. Next is one of my favorite comedies from 2011, the movie Goon. I remember the trailer really selling me on this movie, but it must have had a limited release because I missed this one in theaters as well. Sean William Scott is really good in the movie, and it's a role that's the complete opposite of Stifler, which is probably what he'll always be best known for. He plays a very shy, awkward dude who gets coerced into playing hockey because the only thing he's good at is beating people up. What made me really grow to love this movie was just how awkward he is, which I can very much relate to. I hope this gets the collector's edition treatment one day, and that may sway me to upgrade this to Blu-ray, but this DVD will be the way for me to enjoy this movie until then. Next is one of my favorite remakes, and one that doesn't get talked about enough, which is the Crazies. It does what remakes should do, which is take the premise of the original and craft a different story around that premise. This came out in 2010, and I went to Walmart on release day to buy this and Hot Tub Time Machine. I sadly lost Hot Tub Time Machine when I moved. Tragic, I know. This movie has become an annual watch for me every October. I watch 31 horror movies in October, and I always include this movie. It's just a movie that has always stuck with me. I preferred this version over George Romero's original film, which may be sacrilege to say, but I do enjoy the 1973 version. Next is a 2-disc limited edition set of 30 Days of Night. I bought this at FYE about 10 years ago, and it was an exclusive of theirs that came with a bonus documentary on the making of the film. This is one of my favorite vampire movies, and I must have watched this film dozens of times back in high school. I've even read the comic this is based on, and the writer, Steve Niles, helped write the screenplay for this movie. I feel like this movie was made to make vampires scary again, since it came out during the height of Twilight. But funny enough, the director of this movie, David Slade, went on to direct one of the Twilight movies after this. I've since bought this on Blu-ray, but I've kept it for the bonus documentary this came with. I hope Sony licenses this movie out to get a collector's edition, This hasn't gotten any sort of new release since 2008, so I'd say we're due for at least a 4K for this movie. Next is Trick or Treat, and I also bought this at FYE back in the day. I remember seeing the trailer for it and thought it looked like a fun Halloween horror movie, but it wound up never getting a theatrical release. And then one day I saw this at FYE. I passed on it because it was hella expensive, like $33 for a DVD, come on. It's been a while since I've been to an FYE, and the closest ones to me are both an hour away from me. But charging MSRP for a DVD back then is a little much. But did I eventually cave and pony up $30 for it? You betcha. Plus the slipcover had a really nice holographic shine to it. This movie did not disappoint me, and it was the first horror anthology I had ever seen. I enjoy all the stories, and there isn't one that feels lackluster compared to the other ones. But I also like how all the stories interweave with one another. This is also another movie I watch every October. I did upgrade this when Scream Factory put out their collector's edition, and I'll probably also get the new 4K that Arrow Video is putting out this year because I do love this movie, and it's all because I took a chance on this DVD. The last movie in this video is Dark City, and this movie is in my top 3 favorite films of all time, and that's because of this DVD. I remember reading an article about Inception, and in the article it mentioned this movie, so I looked it up and I was like, holy shit, because the trailer for this movie was included on the VHS for Mortal Kombat Annihilation, and I remember it freaking me out, which, to be honest, didn't take much to freak me out back then. So now that I've grown up and my days of being scared easily were behind me, I wanted to check this movie out, and I found it at Turn It Up in Northampton, Massachusetts. I still have the price tag on it, and it's one of those old clipper cases that Warner Brothers were using at the dawn of the DVD age. This DVD only has the theatrical cut, which kind of gives away the plot in the opening voiceover, so I would recommend first-time watchers to watch the director's cut. I could gush over this film, but it's a movie where the less you know, the better. This is also just another sentimental DVD that'll just stay in my collection forever. Thank you for watching part 3 in this series. I'm starting to run pretty low on DVDs to show off, but I promise there will be a part 4 sometime in the near future. But until then, have a movie time.